Hello everyone from WW4WWW. This is a real actual video. It's not a YouTube short. How incredible is that? Oh boy, oh boy. I wanted to make a video about mesh radio, and it's a bit of a heavy topic for a first video, I know, but for those of you that are ham operators and for those of you that are not yet, I think this would be really neat for you. Especially if you've heard anything called Meshtastic. If you know anything, if you've heard that buzzword before, you might find this video a little bit interesting. So let me show you a little bit about it. And check out my recording software, and this is pretty cool. So here's my little face. Oops. Right here. I'm going to put that right there for now. And I also have eye tracking. Check that out. Isn't that just cool? We'll use those tools later. Anyways, I'm having fun with my recording software. So, Meshtastic, what is it? Let me show you. Here's your introductory stuff here. So what this is it's basically an interface. You can think of these things right here as modems of sorts, right? And you connect that to your phone, to another phone, and allow them to communicate between these two nodes over ham radio, or LoRa is what it's called, long range radio. And then, or computers and stuff like that. And it's just a network of sorts is the way you can think about it. And so that's in a nutshell what it is. You can connect through it to via USB or Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. In this case, to phones, it's all through Bluetooth. If you know how to run Bluetooth on your phone, you're most of the way there. Let me show you what I've got. My little Meshtastic here, my little Meshtastic device here, is a LilyGo T-Echo is what it's called. And I think I spent maybe 40 bucks on it. Let's see if I can get this to focus. Okay, there we go. So you can see nodes that it's heard is MQTH, WQTH, sorry, is my QTH, WCRV is my car. They're all the ones that's heard before, ATL1 right there, and WATL, those are my brother. Good afternoon, Meshies. I sent that as a message just a moment ago. We have, this is a test. I was testing out the messages. There's kind of like a map thing that they're kind of slowly working on. And back to that home screen. So, that's cool. It doesn't have a keyboard on it, so you can't text. So that's where that linking it to your phone comes in handy. So, as you can see on my phone, there's my messages saying, you can't see it, but it says, good afternoon, Meshies, test, all that stuff. What it's doing is it's connecting through Bluetooth, right? And then when I text on my phone, it sends through Bluetooth to this, and then sends out the antenna over to the Meshtastic stuff. So cool, right? Let me show you exactly what you can do with that. So here is a node. Let me show you behind me. I call him Mr. Eyebrows right there. It's a little smiley face with some little eyebrow antennas on him, and he's connected through a USB cable down to a plug back there. And what that guy does is he sits there plugged in all the time and listens for messages all the time. And if I receive any messages, and let's say I'm away from home, for example, it'll save those messages, and then when I wander back inside the house, my radio goes, "Hey, what messages did I miss?" And it goes, "Oh, here's all the messages," and it shares it with me. It's called a store and forward server is what it's called. But that way I never miss any messages, even if I'm away from home. That's connected to my Wi-Fi. My camera's all wonky. So that any message that goes over the internet, it will capture and share with me if I'm away from my home internet. So that's kind of cool. This is the web interface. And what this is actually Mr. Eyebrows back there. It's connected over the internet, or over my web browser here. And you can see all of these nodes all connected across the US. These are all people that are connected to, kind of like Mr. Eyebrows, they're all connected over internet to all the other mesh nodes over internet. It's kind of cheating. It's not over RF, not over radio, but it gets the point across. Here's the Ron, KF0HMC. Says it was 7 hops away. So if you're familiar with APRS, for example, it means he's 7 hops away. 91% charge, so that's kind of cool. there's something out here, VP9 in queue. That's kind of cool. 3 hops away over internet. Anyways, so, and here's another list of all that. There's all the nodes and messages there. I can go to www and say, for example, test. And what this will do is whenever I hit send, it'll send over my web browser to Mr. Eyebrows back there, and then it'll pop up on my node here. So let me hit send, and whenever I do, you should see a green light pop up here. Yeah, there you go. Let me go to my camera so you can see it full screen. You see it says it's a green light and it says test. So I just received a message. And what that did is it sent from my web browser over to Mr. Eyebrows, sent it over ham or Meshtastic LoRa to this antenna to here. Then I can also, I see I got a notification on my phone down there. It says test from WQTH. So that's Meshtastic in a nutshell. So the neat thing is, good news for you people that don't have your ham license yet. You don't need a ham license for this. None needed. It's called an ISM band. If you want to get technical, it's industrial science and something other, I forget. And let me get this back in focus. But you don't need a license for that. And it's encrypted. It's encrypted off-grid texting. So that's pretty cool. If you're a prepper and you want to be all tactical, it's pretty cool. So what I do, there's also a ham mode on it. I have mine set up in a ham mode as www4www, and what that does is it unencrypts everything. All right, so there's no encryption. Ham radio does not allow encryption. But what that does do is, whereas if you're unlicensed, it's limited to 1 watt, and I think 4 watts maximum if, you know, including the gain of your antenna because it adds extra output power. The maximum output is 4 watts. With ham radio, it essentially lifts those limits or raises them to, I mean, much higher than you probably output. This thing operates on 915 megahertz. And with your ham license, for example, let me show you what I've got. I have this device in my car called where's it at? There you go. By BQ Consulting. It's called a Meshstation G2. And that's what it looks like there. And you can put out about 5 watts with this thing, I think. 36.5 decibels, which is 4.46 watts in the US for 915 megahertz. So that's pretty cool. You can see I'm using the antenna off of that for my Liligo, because I've actually got that hooked up through to an antenna on my roof of my car. And I think you've seen my car in a different video. So I've got a dedicated Meshtastic antenna. How about that? Yeah, it's all sandwiched together. You can add some little sensors and stuff for environmental data. For example, my let me go back to my full camera here. If you go to the app, my Liligo actually has a sensor built into it for temperature, humidity, and pressure. And there you go. Let me see if I can get this to focus. 83 degrees, which, by the way, the sensor I've realized is next to the microcontroller, little processor. So if you run it for a little while, the circuit board gets a little warm and it warms up temperature. It's not exactly accurate. So 35% humidity, and pressure is in HPA. I'm not sure exactly. I'm used to the one you use in aviation, where 2.9 or 9.2 is normal pressure. Anyways. So that's something neat you can do with Meshtastic is share sensor data over it too. Not just texting, not just let's go back to it. This map of people where you can share your locations, but you can also share sensor data. So that's pretty cool. And you know, you can use it as a ham. You don't have to use it as a ham. Do whatever you want with it. Again, there's my Liligo T Echo. You can get some different cases for it. Comes in black, gray, and it's kind of like a coyote brown of sorts. That was kind of cool. This is Mr. Eyebrows back there, and you can see how cheap it is. $8.99. Now, Mr. Eyebrows does not have a screen on it, so it's purely using over the web interface, which is what this is. this interface here. So you kind of have to log into it through a computer or maybe your phone using your app there. And it also has Bluetooth. You can use Bluetooth or Wi-Fi for it. I'm using it on Wi-Fi at the moment, so I can do that store and forward server. But yeah, so it's like these two. It's there's the little eyebrows I've got folded up, but they're these little antennas. I think this one of them's Wi-Fi. This one's the LoRa antenna. This one's the Wi-Fi antenna. And it's these two boards. They just sandwich on top of each other like that. Kind of cool. And again, super cheap. Ships from California. I would totally check that out. So that's Meshtastic in a nutshell. If you're interested, I mean, again, it's the nice thing I like about it is the low cost to get into it versus like an APRS radio where you're spending a couple $100 for it. You only spend $60, maybe $10 if you get the Seijao ESP32 back there. I think they've got a new version of it out, but it's really cheap to get into. Super easy to mess with. You just play around in the settings. They're pretty intuitive as long as you follow the instructions. And if you ever needed more information on it, they have a fantastic, you go to meshtastic.org/docs/introduction, or not necessarily introduction. It's just all sorts of information for radio setup, module setup, and all that jazz. So all sorts of resources there to learn all about it. So that is Meshtastic in a nutshell. Now, one of the other things I like to play around with, especially as of recently, is a thing called AREDN. So this is getting out of introductory territory, a little bit more advanced, but we're getting into ham mesh networking. If you're still new to this, I beg of you, try sitting through this a little bit. I think you might learn some pretty neat things and get you some motivation to really get into ham radio. So sit with me here and bear with it. I'll try to keep this relatively simple. So AREDN, let me go back to here and open their webpage. Here it is. This is their homepage. So you can see it stands for Amateur Radio Emergency Data Network. All right there, right? And what that is, you can see some pictures of like some nodes up on top of some big rocks. So they look really professional, right? That's the neat thing about this is it uses commercial grade radios for it. So let me go back to my camera here and show you what I've got. I've got this Wi-Fi router, MikroTik, I think it's MikroTik router board. And you can see it's a quite literally a Wi-Fi router of sorts. It's got a little USB port there on the side. Yeah, so what you do with this is with AREDN, you flash some custom firmware on here, which you don't have to program any of that. I mean, you can get more advanced with it and do all sorts of fun stuff with it, but kind of like Meshtastic, they make it really simple. They say, there's a web interface. Actually, let me show you. If you go to, I'll show you that in a moment. Software, if I type in MikroTik app AC Lite right here, this is the device that I have. It gives you some software to download, and if I go back and click on Documents, Latest, there is kind of like how Meshtastic has their guide on how to make stuff work. So does AREDN. It's pretty nice to follow along with. Now there is a lot more to this than Meshtastic. I'll give you that. That's why I recommend you try Meshtastic first. But you can do some really cool things with this. You go down to installing AREDN firmware. For example, the MikroTik first install, and it guides you how to install all that stuff. And I'll make a separate video on that later on to kind of guide you through that. I'm not going to get in the weeds about that right now because that's getting outside the scope. This is just an introductory video. But what this does, let me go back to my camera here. What this does is, this one's not plugged in right now, obviously. It's not with the power cord. But this would sit inside my house, for example. I've got another one up in a tree, and that one is called the TP-Link CPE 510. Let me get a picture of that so you can see what that looks like. There we go. So this is what it looks like. It's like this little sector antenna kind of looking thing, and then there's the box for it. And I have one of these mounted up in a tree. in my backyard. And the neat thing about that, they all communicate with each other over 2.4 gigs, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal, right? This is all Wi-Fi band-ish. However, we're using our ham band because our ham band falls within the same area of the band segment as Wi-Fi 2.4 and 5 gigahertz and 900 megahertz. There are some 900 megahertz things like this, but they're starting to be harder to find and not going to be very usable soon, considering I think there's some policy changes, some law changes. Anyways, I'm getting too involved. All these communicate with each other over ham radio. It's all unencrypted still, but they use the Wi-Fi protocol. It's Wi-Fi 4, which is there you go. Wi-Fi 4 is 802.11n, and basically what that does is in terms of mesh stuff. Let me explain to you the benefit real quick before I show you the cool things about it. If you think about APRS, right? Things blurt out into the world saying, here's my location, here's my data, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Meshtastic. They kind of blurred on top of each other. So in APRS, you have these situations where different stations step on top of each other. This one avoids that. It basically, the first time you set up all these nodes, I'm going to use my Raspberry Pi here as an example, as node number 2. Node A and node B, okay? So node A will go, I'm about to transmit, and then node B goes, okay, sounds good, I'll let you transmit. And then it sends out its information, and then it goes, okay, cool, here's my information, right? And now you can kind of think of it as time slot A, time slot B, or time slot 1, time slot 2. At that point, once they've established their order of transmitting, they kind of stick with that, so they're not blurting on top of each other moving forward. That's kind of a coverage of it in a nutshell. That's generally how it works. I'm gonna skip any of the details there, but that's the nice thing about Mesh AREDN is that it uses that principle. So let me show you back here. So after you follow the guide on installing all your stuff for the node, you'll get this. This is my node. All this stuff is separated into sections. So for example, up here is some text that shows this is my first AREDN net linked node. Plan on getting it set up with Villarica, Georgia area. Thanks for stopping by, staying tuned. It says it's been up for 52 minutes because I rebooted it just a moment ago. There's my local time, and there's under that is where all the network stuff, my IP addresses and my location, all that stuff is. And then up here at the top is a thing called local services. What this is, you see HOIP, which is hams over IP. That's my phone number. One really neat thing about Mesh, AREDN Mesh versus APRS, Meshtastic and APRS, is you can do much more with it. You can make websites. You can make. I've got a desk phone, like a VoIP, voice over IP desk phone, and you can hear a dial tone on it. I've got VoIP servers running on this, so I can make phone calls over AREDN Mesh, which is just super cool. So that's HOIP, is hams over IP, which is a phone, as you see by the little phone icon there. The PBX is the server that the phones actually go off of. And then you can see down here, well, here's local devices. I don't have anything connected right now. Local nodes. So this is kind of like all your things that your device can hear over radio. Or, for example, this KE4IDH node, I'm actually tunneling in over the internet through VPN. So I'm kind of cheating with him. But let me show you this one. This is what my node is hearing through RF. Is www.tree. You can wonder where that one is. You can see right there, it's a TP-Link CPE 510, which is that one I showed you a little bit earlier. That's the one I've got mounted up in my tree. I try to keep the names pretty descriptive. And of course, this one doesn't have any services or devices on it, but What this one's used for is, you know, considering all this stuff is really high frequency. Let me go back to here. Considering they're all high frequency, they can't penetrate through things. An example of what I'm trying to say is, if you got your phone with its Wi-Fi and you walk from the router in your house all the way to the other side of the house, and you notice your Wi-Fi bar start dropping the signal, same deal. Is, you know, the higher in frequency you go, the less penetration it has through walls or trees or foliage or any of that stuff. So instead of having an omnidirectional thing, it's better if you have more directional. So you're, instead of radiating your energy all over the place and kind of wasting energy in other directions, you can channel all of your energy in one direction and push through some of that if you can. That node I've got up and outside, it works better in the fall. I'm trying to focus. There you go. It will work better in the fall because all the leaves fall to the trees, and you get more of a line of sight through that. So my www4 www.qth. So here we are. Let's go over to my Babel. What's going on in Babel? So let me go back. This is the home page. It shows you all the things it can hear over RF and through the VPN, the tunnel. Over here are all the nodes it can hear. That's more than just RF or thing. It's like, for example, instead of being one hop from my node to the tree, it's 2 or 3 or 4 hops further away. And actually, you can see this through this little map thing here. Okay, so here's the map of everything, kind of like that Meshtastic map there. This is all the nodes I can connect to from my node. So let's try, for example, connecting to this node here, W1RGC. It might or might not work. Let's see. There you go. It worked. Okay. So now I connected to a node over AREDN mesh. These are all the different nodes I can see that are not just, you know, over RF. This is kind of cheating through that, but some of these are RF connections. So for example, let's see if we can zoom in here. And there's a chart up there in the top right. All these yellow lines and yellow pins are RF things. So there's a 5.8 gigahertz node there, 5.8 there. And what it looks like is this yellow line is saying it's a RF connection between all these. So I'm not gonna lie, that connection there is pretty cool. That's a long distance to travel over RF, but really neat, really neat. So it kind of shows you the scale and a visualization on what a mesh network is. So if I wanted to connect from a node, like say here over to over here, I can take this path, or I can take this path, I can take this path and get to the same nodes over there. There's all sorts of different paths you can get to it. So if a node goes down in between some other nodes, it's all self-healing is the idea, which is really, really neat. Let's try going a really long distance to this one over here. Or let's try this one here. This one's a bit more distance. Okay, maybe not. The other thing too is this all works through a thing called Babel routing. And without getting into the weeds about that, it's what allows this whole net to be self-healing and stuff. So pretty neat, pretty neat. I'm not going to get too involved in that. Let's go back. So anyways, all the different services that you can see here, well, all the different nodes, you can see all their services on them. So for example, here's Mesh Chat, which allows you to log in. I've already logged in my call sign. I can log out, but if there were messages here, you can see it shows up in messages. It's kind of like Meshtastic texting. This guy's got a white pages for all the mesh phones out there. There is a, let's see, Chattanooga Mesh Info. This is a website that shows you a little information about the Chattanooga Mesh up there. Let's see, there is some pretty neat things out here somewhere. There is a PiAware station. So if you're familiar with FlightAware and the PiAware stuff, it's an ADSB receiver. And you can see this node right here is receiving ADSB signals from all sorts of aircraft. There's a November 243 Charlie X-ray, which is a he doesn't show the aircraft type, but yeah, so that's pretty cool if you're familiar with that for aircraft tracking. Let's see, you can run Pi-stars through here. So, for example, if you're familiar with like a D-Star or a DMR or System Fusion like that, you connect your little radio hotspot to the internet. Instead of running it over internet, you can run it over ham internet and can talk to each other through still RF through 5.8, 2.4 gigahertz and all that jazz. So that's pretty cool. Let me get this plugged back in there. So yeah, I mean that's just AREDN in a nutshell. You can go on and on and on and on about it, and I'm just kind of yapping at this point about some of it, but I would totally check it out. I'm trying to get my local ham club real involved in it, because there is all sorts of fun stuff to do with it, whether it's phone calls. I can actually let me show you something that is pretty cool here. Okay, so this node that I was showing you earlier, I plugged it in, and what I'm using this as is a bridge between AREDN ham internet, quote unquote, to Wi-Fi, and now like actual legitimate Wi-Fi, and that way I can connect my phone to it through Wi-Fi. You can see I've got it's connected as David-Mesh-AREDN Wi-Fi signal. So anyways, once you connect to that, all sorts of apps, since it's all internet linked, internet routing of sorts, or IP routing rather, you can run sorts of like apps through it. For example, here's a phone app. It's a VoIP app, right? And I've got an account on it set up as Mesh, and this is Mesh Phone now. So what I can do with this is I can dial, for example, between my cell phone and my desk phone over here. You'll hear it start ringing. Isn't that kind of cool? And put that on speakerphone here. Testing 1 2. And then you can hang up like that. So I'll do a tutorial on all that later, because that was also quite the setup. But that's just an example of other things you can do with it. Now, you don't necessarily need Mesh to do that. There is HOIP, hams over IP, and that uses actual internet rather than AREDN ham internet. But Mesh Phone, which is what I just used there, strictly goes over AREDN or the ham mesh, so it doesn't. You have to have that in order to make that work. I would check that out though. But yeah, so all that's a lot of fun, neat stuff to play around with. I really hope some of that was interesting. And if you stuck around this far, I am super proud of you. You've stuck. Hopefully you've learned something. I mean, this is a lot of stuff for a first video on my YouTube channel here, but hopefully you can see why I'm fascinated with it. It is definitely a rabbit hole to fall into, just like the rest of ham radio is, and the rest of radio in general is. There's always something else to learn and something else to play with, and the fact that I can make a phone call over ham radio, like an actual phone call to different phone numbers, is just, I don't know. It is my unique fascination there. So all this Meshtastic stuff. Meshtastic's caught on a lot. There's a lot of people that are playing around with it, whether you're licensed or not. There's a lot of just normal ISM users without their ham license that are using it. So I would totally check it out. It's really neat. If you have any questions on mesh networking or anything ham radio related, this YouTube channel is getting a little out of control, guys. I mean, I'm at, let's see. My largest video is 2.5 million views on it, and is 305 comments. There are 305 comments on it. As much as I would love to respond to every single comment, balancing between life and work and ham hobbies and stuff, it's just it's too much. I'm hoping, so in this video specifically for the foreseeable future, I plan on answering any questions I can on it. It is a pretty complex topic. I would check online for any details, because the internet is just abundant on information. If you haven't done that, check that out. If I can't answer your question, someone else in the comments will, and just learn some things, But yeah, definitely if you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you. Otherwise, if you could send this to some of your people that you think might be interested in mesh stuff. I've got a bunch of other people in my local club that have gotten interested as a result, so I'm going to send this to them. Hopefully they learn something out of it. While this doesn't necessarily go into each detail, I'll release more videos later on tutorials, for example, for the phone and for specifically Meshtastic and specifically AREDN and how to flash firmware and all that stuff. I'll get to that later on. But hopefully this gives you a general idea on what to expect with each. Let me get this to focus. There we go. Hopefully that gives you a general coverage on it and what to expect and what all you can do with it. So thanks for sticking around. Hope you've had as much fun with this as I have, or hope you have as much fun with this as I have. And I'll catch you guys in a later video. Thank you for sticking around through my first YouTube video that's not a YouTube short. All right, guys. 7-3. See ya.